7:05. You good?
Rosanna Glenn?
Here.
Shannon Pierce Brown?
Here.
Matt Linshaw?
Here.
Ken Cleveland? Ken Jackson?
Here.
Wade Messenger?
Here.
John Post?
Here.
Heather Jacobs?
Here.
Jessica Warren? Here. Jack Buckus?
Here.
Ron Rickey?
Here.
Joe Costa?
Here.
Chris Archer?
Here.
And Claudio Bazzano.
Here.
Okay, we have no... Town council is having their meeting tonight, so won't be any town council representation. All right, agenda. Anyone want to make any changes, or take a motion to approve the agenda?
So move. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Minutes from the 22nd, you should receive them in your email inboxes. Anyone have any edits, changes, comments? If not, take a motion to approve the minutes from the 22nd.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone abstaining?
I'm gonna abstain.
Shannon abstains. Motion carries. All right, any public comments? I do have 2 email submittals I'm going to read in. Anyone here? No? Okay. I did get 2 letters. I just wanted to read them in. One is from Mayor James Dimitriadis, and he wrote, "Dear Rosanna, I'm writing to you in the capacity as chairwoman of the Cromwell Middle School Building Committee. As you may be aware, the town of Cromwell recently proposed a turf field for the high school. The proposal was part of a larger high school field realignment project. The plan was voted down by Planning and Zoning. In a subsequent meeting, I returned to Planning and Zoning with an informal concept involving just converting the field to turf in its existing location and size, refurbishing the track in its existing location and size, moving the tennis courts to the rear of the school, and adding new parking. This concept was not received positively, and the town has been asked to brainstorm a larger strategic plan on the high school field complex. While the town reviews future options, my question for the building committee is as to whether there is opportunity for a turf field on the middle school grounds. If there is an opportunity, I'd be seeking information on what the cost would be for design, for installation, and future maintenance, as well as any overall impact on the project that this concept would have. I'll be putting this on the town council agenda for," he wrote June 15th, but I think he meant today, June 12th, "as well as trying to set up a conversation with stakeholders in the coming weeks to help determine a pathway forward. With this information from your team, I hope that the town can make a more informed decision about where a turf field would be most appropriate." And I'll talk about that a little bit more in my update. And then the second letter was from Andrew Kuckel. He's the principal for Cromwell High School. He wrote, "Rosanna, it's my understanding that the gym floor at CMS is original to the building. In other words, the Home of the Champions moniker we have at Cromwell High School originated on that gym floor. It is the same gym floor where the basketball team won 5 consecutive state championships and our other athletes trained for their success. We would like to repurpose a significant amount of the gym floor for a fundraiser and authentic learning experience for our students. Classes would collaborate on organizing a fundraiser where students, families, and community members could purchase a part of history in the form of 1-by-1 foot sections of the court or 2-by-2 foot sections. We believe this fundraiser would be an excellent event that can bring the community together as we remember our past. It would also be an opportunity for students to participate in an authentic learning experience where they are repurposing, marketing, advertising, and researching the history of the town and CHS in the process. We're not always afforded these local opportunities in education and would like to provide an excellent learning experience for our students. We have parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents in our town that once called CMS home, many of whom participated in basketball or other activities. CHS would also like to have a 3-by-3 foot section to display in our trophy case and a rectangular section for a sign at the beginning of our Hall of Champions that we are in the process of creating. I recognize this is all based on the ability of the construction crew, demo the floor appropriately, or we can have our woodworking class do it for free. In summary, this is not about money, as we would not sell these for a large cost. It is about bringing our community together to remember our past and providing an exceptional educational opportunity for our students. Okay. Those are only 2 emails I got. Okay, and other comments, right, you said?
No, there's no other
Okay.
submissions.
So, couple things happened since our last meeting on the 22nd. We had Newfield, Arcadis. Ron, you were there. We had a meeting with the town, with the town manager, with the mayor, and with the Little League president, Jim Vincetti, on May 31st to talk about the impact of the parking lot closure on the Little League season. Long story short, what they concluded and what the actual town council has on their agenda today, and I'll pull that up real quick so I can show you or tell you, is they're going to vote tonight on discussion and possible action regarding the CMS building committee and the cost of traffic control signs that would primarily direct Little League traffic as a result of parking lot closure due to construction of the new middle school. So their conclusion was that they want the building committee to pay for signage to redirect traffic because, having the gate closing off the parking lot would not be sufficient to let people know they can't park there. They need direction. I did voice my concern that these costs were being applied towards our budget, even though this isn't a building committee issue. It's really a town issue, and the town should be paying for them, which is why Tony suggested that they bring it to the town council, have the town council vote on whether or not this is a building committee expense or a town expense. The expense is probably minor. I'm guessing a couple $100. I don't know. But it's more the principle of it and the fact that we kind of open the door now to potentially other organizations in town that feel they may be impacted by our construction efforts and will come and ask for other things to help make their organizations' lives easier. So that's going to be voted on this evening. We'll find out. And then if they approve it, then we will have to redirect. And I know there is a budget for signage within our budget. I don't know if we've used it all or whatnot, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Board of Ed had a meeting on last week. They 3 things came out of that meeting. One is that they agreed to have Claudio as our official member of the building committee, so he will be a third alternate on the building committee.
I don't believe that's the spirit of the legislation.
To be an alternate?
The legislation is to make the Board of Ed chair or the chair's designee a member of the a member of the building committee, which infers in that language that this becomes a voting position, so that the Board of Ed has skin in the game.
Okay, so does that mean that we would have to, because we need an odd number, would have to either remove someone or make an alternate another
Make an alternate
full-time?
a voting member.
Okay. Would you mind, okay, we're going to let James know that they need to change that motion. Okay, even better. So you'll be a voting member, Claudio. But the Board of Ed agreed with that nomination, let's put it that way. So it's with the town council tonight because the town council is the ones who vote in the building committee, since we report to them. So they took it upon themselves to vote. So they're voting on it tonight. I don't think we wait till July 1st to make it official. I think once they vote, you'd be on the building committee. I don't think there's any penalty doing it earlier, right? Okay. Just let James know that they have to vote to allow us to make one of our alternates a full-time voting member. So we'd only have one alternate.
And then
Would-
Claudia would be
He would be a full-time member.
The governor signed the bill last Thursday, so it's teed up to become effective as of July 1st.
Okay.
Would that change the number
So-
of people we need for a quorum?
That would change the number
It
of
would-
people we have. So instead of it being, what are we now? 4 would be 5.
Okay.
So when I'm texting him, do you want me to tell him to potentially nominate another person tonight, or wait till their next meeting to fill that other spot?
I think we would vote on which one of our alternates would be a full-time member, right? Or they have to do it. Does it matter?
They would, it's a town council committee.
As long as the town council, what are you now, as far as voting members, 7?
Yeah.
So in order to accommodate this legislative change, to raise the voting members to 9, utilizing one of your alternates and Claudio to come up with those 2 new members.
So authorizing us to nominate one of our alternates as a full-time member.
Yeah.
No, I think the town council would have to.
Well, but they have to increase the voting population of
So-
the committee from 7 to 9.
So they're going to vote to increasing the population from 7 to 9
But
and give us the authority.
no, because they're the ones who assigned the committee. We can't assign our own committee.
Yeah,
They have to do that.
we serve at the purview of the.
But
town
they can
council.
vote to give us authorization to choose
could.
between our 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have a
Mix
bake-off.
the fruit.
We know our council.
I don't know that our charter allows us to do that. I think they have to do that. But by rights, she was on the committee first. Like, she was appointed as the first alternate.
Okay.
So I feel like she should be the first one to, unless she wants to defer it. She was appointed as the first alternate.
Okay. So Jessica and Claudia would have to be made.
Unless you don't want it. But technically,
Either way, yeah.
like she was assigned to the committee well before I was.
Yeah. Okay.
I will provide that information. Jessica Lynn was assigned as the first alternate when the committee was established.
Yeah. And leave it up to them if they want to nominate another alternate for future, if they need 2 alternates. So we'll only have 1 alternate then for a future meeting.
Does it need to be?
We never needed an alternate.
Needed alternates.
Because we're awesome when we come to all of our meetings.
But if we're, I've voted once. But if, do we have to go to 9 voting members? Is that the criteria?
It's either that or
should
or
we have
Claudia would
3
replace-
alternates? Is that
We
in order
the
to have an odd
options are
number?
either Claudia replaces someone already seated, or we add them and then add someone else
And
to
then
keep the
add-
numbers
okay.
odd.
Okay.
So unless someone wants to give up their seat, anyone want to give up their seat?
Come this far.
So I don't think anyone wants to give up their seat.
It'll be hard. It's a good team.
Yeah, we need this job.
So
Can't
would the
forget
one
that.
that gives up their seat become an alternate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so tell him he needs to change the motion to appoint Jessica and Claudio as full-time members. And then we could figure out,
He liked it and liked it.
okay, good,
I didn't talk about the other alternate. I felt like that's a conversation we can have
later.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then the Board of Ed also talked about the media center. There was some discussion about the circulation desk. So I hope you understood, because I was very confused about, they don't want the big circulation desk. They want a little mini one at the entrance. So I was like, so is it millwork? Maybe they didn't understand what the millwork was. Like, do you want it fixed, like a counter, or do you want it to be a table that moves around?
They expressed the concept. That's enough to get us over the hump and into the design process.
Okay, so you're gonna have to figure that out with them, Claudio, because it was hurting my head.
My understanding is, originally the conversation was to make a smaller circulation desk. The current one that was originally designed, it's like a long L shape,
Yeah,
and they didn't need anything.
they just
that
wanted a
big.
little jut out.
I thought they wanted a little, like, 4x4.
Yeah.
But from what I'm hearing, following the meeting that we had, it sounds like they're okay with just a desk, rather than millwork, as a piece of furniture. FF&E works just fine if it's easier to do it that way. It doesn't look like there was any we want this. It was like, we don't need that big.
It's the microphone, sorry.
We don't need that big circulation desk. I'm almost done now. Need that big circulation desk. We just want a piece of furniture there so that when people come in, we can greet them, and if we have to write
Yeah.
anything. So, I know you had some concerns about millwork. I think I'll continue the conversation with the group and just confirm whether a small desk is fine.
Yeah, because my concern is if, when we start talking mill work, right, then we start talking about electrical, like, do they need an outlet on the thing, on the side of it, or in the front of it, or whatever, like,
I'm hoping we can pick the power right off the wall there,
Okay.
and we can plug in right there, because that
Okay.
desk shouldn't be moving around. It should stay in that
Right.
area. So we should be able just to have a junction box right there and plug in.
So what was the reason for that? Was it just to give them more room in the whole area? Or
Well,
just
that whole,
unnecessary?
first of all, that whole small instructional room is being moved.
Eliminated,
Yeah.
yeah.
Breakout room.
What went into the conversation is the volumes. We want to continue having a library, and we want this library to be more flexible. There is a direction of going into a STEAM program, and some of that instruction will happen inside that space, because it's such a large space. You're going to have a large group in there and do projects and work together. So the school wanted to continue to have volumes, and they didn't want the volumes stuck in a corner or inside a room where kids can't get them. They still want it to be a library, and they will handle how the library is used through scheduling rather than from a construction aspect. So big open space allows them flexibility,
More room.
allows enough bookshelves to hold the books, and also the bookshelves can ultimately be used as project stands, so they can put the projects that they will be working in that STEAM space.
Makes sense.
It just gives them so much more flexibility. The type of desks and tables that are there can be put together, so there's so much more that can be done and still be a library. I'm old school in the sense that it's hard to envision a library without books, even though the future of libraries are changing. That's why they're called media center now, not libraries.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've gone over that bridge where books should be completely gone. So it's kind of a meld of the two.
scary. All right. Thank you for that, Claudio. And then the third thing they talked about and voted on is the new signage at the
Oh, wait,
front.
can I just ask about the media center?
Yeah.
Did they, just for the, making sure we're clear on our record, they discussed it, but did they also pass a motion to update the ed spec?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're not updating the ed specs. So the ed specs we will modify at the very end. We're going to do like all the changes compiled at once. So we can send it to the state in one gulp. But they made a motion to make the change with the intent, basically, of updating the ed spec.
Okay. So then who's tracking all those changes?
Jack, you'd start tracking them.
Yeah, that's really the only substantive change.
That and the auditorium from last year was never put in the ed spec.
Yeah.
In the draft. It's a draft. I don't think we submitted back. Did we submit it to the state?
I believe it was.
Okay. All right. So then, yeah. So that's the only change.
And the sign?
The sign. Okay. So they voted
That wasn't in the ed
also-
spec either, so.
That wasn't. So they also voted to replace the current signage with the LED sign, and then we're gonna get some estimates on that. Are you gonna do that during your report? Arcadis report?
It's on the agenda later.
Yeah, it's on the agenda later. We'll talk about it. Okay, so those are the BOE things. I did want to just circle back to the two letters I got from the mayor and Mr. Kuckle. So just some flavor for our partners who are kind of new to this whole turf debacle in town. So basically, at the high school, our fields are in shambles. Our track is falling apart. Our tennis courts are chained up, closed. Like, everything just needs to get redone. And there's a whole separate committee, kind of, sort of, not really, that they are, but whatever, not like us. Separate committee that's out there to try to get all of that redone. And they went to planning and zoning and it got shot down because the neighbors complained. That's the start and end of it. So in the meantime, we have a huge drainage issue in town, and the soccer families and sports families are screaming that we need a turf field in town because, like, over 50% of our soccer games last year were canceled because of rain, because you couldn't even go on the fields. And even if it's just like a small rain, the town still doesn't want people playing on them because the fields get destroyed and then they have to maintain them and the divots and blah, blah, blah. So, speaking with the mayor, there was this idea that got generated, like, why wouldn't we consider putting a turf field at the middle school? Because at least there'll be one field in town that's usable, and if there is a rain or something, they can always move the game to that field or whatnot. So I had asked Joe Collada to start pulling an estimate as, like, what would that look like as far as costs, design costs, changes, besides obviously the material and everything like that. I'm hoping that the delta isn't as bad as if we were to just go put a whole new turf field somewhere else in Cromwell, right? Like, we're already moving the dirt, we're already putting the sub ground, whatever you want to call it, foundation in there. But what would that delta cost be to actually lay a artificial turf on top as opposed to the rolled sod? So,
And the maintenance costs.
and the maintenance
There's also
costs.
maintenance.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's maintenance to anything, right? Like, if you have grass, you always have to mow it every week, and fertilize and all that jazz. And I don't know what maintenance for a artificial turf field, other than I know that every once in a while they have to, like, lay down more of those black pebbly things. The little,
Requires special equipment. It's called a sweeper.
Yeah.
What it does is, as you use it, the granules, whatever you're using, gets pushed to the side, and then you kind of have to sweep them
Swim back in.
Sometimes that. There's also. And there are also different types. There's the silica type, there's glass type, there's the rubber type, and there's also organic type. So that also changes the cost of the maintenance going forward. There's been more of a drive towards to go with the organic type because some studies have come back that the rubber is not good, and also the impact that it has as it freezes. We recently did a couple in Hartford. One was separate without a construction project, and one was a high school that was part of a construction project. And it's probably about $3 million.
Claudia, do you know how long a turf field lasts to the life of a turf field?
No, we've only had one in Hartford now. I think 4 years.
Because I can
since we
say,
did
I can
Weaver.
tell you Middletown High School was built in 2007, and this year they're putting in a new turf field,
Yep.
so it's been about 17
17
years.
years.
15. Yeah, you figure
like that.
15, 20 years
So,
max.
yeah.
The more you use it, if there's any movement on the ground, the seam starts splitting. Also, the type you put in there, whether you're painting the lines or whether the lines are actually sewn into
Right.
the field, the type of drainage that's used, there's a lot that comes into play, how long it's gonna last, by what type, how you wanna, what type of quality field you put in there.
yeah. Okay.
Rosanna, to your question, since we're already doing earthwork for the soccer field, we already own a lot of that labor in the base, so the delta to upgrade is probably in the $1.5 million range,
Right.
and
what I
that's
figured.
ineligible for state reimbursement,
Right.
so keep that.
So the town would have to pay for that. Would that still be considered part of our budget, or would that be town budget, like, separate?
In theory, we have the money in the budget now in contingency because of the bid savings,
Yeah.
so you could just continue to run it through with the same contractors through the same budget. You could treat it as the site contractor does their part and stops, and then somebody else comes in, or that they hire a sub that does the rug. There's different ways to divide up the scope of work. But since we've got somebody who's already preparing the site for the grass field, you're just talking about the delta.
Right. So this, I mean, we're not voting on anything here, just to make it clear, this is a town council decision. They're gonna be talking, they're gonna start the discussions tonight. I think James is gonna propose it to the town council tonight. Don't think they're gonna vote on it tonight. They're gonna wanna get some of the numbers from us. So our part is really to just provide them estimates, options, our recommendations as far as like, do we do the sewn-in lines or do the painted lines? Do we do organic versus raw? Like, all that stuff is probably something that we would have to provide them. So we'll do the legwork on that. And then provide them like options, like, you know, these are the options. You tell us what you want us to do.
But
When does that decision need to be made by?
I don't think anytime soon, because, I don't know. Do you guys know?
It's going on the old school site, so we've got a year at least
Yeah.
for the work to start.
Right.
But you wanna get all that other stuff way ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there much of a lead time on the materials for a turf field? Is it pretty straightforward? Just like a big roll of turf that they,
Right, I mean, you can't get it tomorrow, but, you know.
it's not a year.
Put it out.
Yeah.
No, we're involved in some field projects down in Region 4, and they bid it and bought it and are building it this summer.
Yeah.
So not a multi-month lead time.
So I think the questions I have is for the current field size that we have. Obviously, it's big enough for a soccer field, but I don't know field hockey. Is field hockey smaller than a soccer field?
What they can do is with the fields, they'll set the turf, and then they'll put
Lacrosse.
whatever sports
Or
you want to
lacrosse.
play, they'll put all the markings on the field.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if we want, let's say we wanted to do soccer, field hockey, and lacrosse, right? While we're at it, let's
So
offer
the
up.
biggest, so your biggest footprint is what they would put for the turf.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
then-
Which is it? The soccer field? Is that the biggest?
Football is the longest, because it's
Yeah.
120 yards.
And we're not-
Soccer's 110.
Football will not.
Soccer's a little wider.
Yeah, we will
but
not use this field.
It's not as long
Yeah.
as football. Football is 120. It's 100 plus 10 for each one of the end zones. Soccer's 110.
Unless there's middle school football.
So this wouldn't be intended for
There's not.
the high school football team to play there?
No.
Yeah, well, I'd also like to put on the record that a concern that was raised was that now that this would be the premier athletic field in Cromwell, would the high school try to come down and muscle the middle school out and for after school in the fall, particularly for soccer? Would they say our field isn't working, let's kick the middle school out? So they wanted to make sure middle school still gets dibs because it is a middle school field.
Yeah, I think the middle school would take priority. Now, if it's a state championship, maybe they can make some, accommodations.
Chair, has anyone expressed any intent regarding bleachers and seating? Because once you're having a high school game there, that
That's
opens
what I'm
up
saying.
a
would-
whole nother
yeah,
window.
That's what I'm saying. Would
You
never
can't
be for
have-
football
But
because
you
we're
can't
never.
have but are there requirement? Am I on?
Yeah.
Like, if you are looking to like a high school championship game, though, there probably are requirements for bleachers and things like that. Which is
For
what-
soccer games?
Yeah.
I don't know, because every
Lockers
soccer
and
game,
things.
I've been to soccer games where it's just, you bring your lawn chair, like. there's
Not
no-
for state championship games.
Not for state championship games?
So like this is what got the town into this in the first place.
Well, that was for football, though, not for.
No, soccer
But their
championship
CIC,
games.
their CIAC
rules.
requirements for hosting those playoff games. And soccer was just the first, I think, more significant.
So we can't play
situation.
soccer games at home, championship soccer games at home?
I'm not, I don't know if you can or
You
cannot.
can,
I
but
think,
there's bleachers at the high school.
I think there's things that, those are some of the questions that need to be asked and answered. What is the intent of the field? How would it be used? Who has priority?
Yeah.
If
I
they
think
are
this is
looking.
above us. I think this is like
Yeah.
the AD needs to like
Parking
weigh in on this.
requirements, yeah.
Because I agree. Like if this is going to be at the middle school, and it's a middle school field, and now there's going to be constant conflict between if it's the middle school field, and like Blaze just said, there's high school things going on, and now the middle school soccer teams don't have a place to go to practice or have their games,
Yeah.
and they're constantly being shoved out. Then, like,
Yeah.
we're doing them a disservice
You're right.
by doing it. And if we don't currently have
So the high school soccer fields are not bad. Like,
right, but like Blaze said, if there's turf available, their fields will all of a sudden
be bad.
become bad.
So who did you reference that, like you said, half or some large number of games had to be canceled because of rain?
So as the chill assignee for referees, I keep track of all the canceled games. And
Would
there
those
was-
have been played at the high school?
last fall, over half of them got canceled.
Yeah, would those have been played at the high school?
Some were high school games. Most of them were at WIS in the middle school. The high school games actually don't get canceled as often as all the other
Yeah,
schools.
but-
Whisk games get canceled all the time because
Yeah,
the
but
fields
would-
are horrible.
But we're gonna put in a new field, right, which we've brought up drainage many times before. So is a turf field at the middle school really gonna solve that problem if it's more of a whisk field problem?
The middle school field gets canceled as much.
But we're putting in a new field
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
That's
with
what- yeah.
better
I
drainage,
think what
right?
Heather's saying is, or Shannon's saying is, we're gonna put in if we put in a natural grass field, we
Yeah.
crowned it correctly, we put in the proper drainage, we don't have that problem.
And one turf
Possi-
field
yeah,
isn't
possi-
going to fix 4 whist fields being
It's
closed.
not. It's a temporary Band-Aid until they figure out what they're going to do at the high school.
But even then, it's not a Band-Aid.
Yeah, so if that's the case, then why would we put a turf field on the middle school if it's really the high school that we're trying to solve for with that
It's-
discussion?
So the high school fields, it's not just the high school use the high school fields. Vale, Chill, all these other clubs use it. And a lot of times what happens is like those are the only fields that are available because everything else gets rained out and they can't satisfy all those people. So having a field that's more reliable, I guess, expands the number of usable fields on site is my only guess. But
Which,
the
to John's point, that's how we would make a grass field, is we would design it to be more reliable than we have today. We're familiar with all the problems we have at WIS.
But
So-
even a grass field, if it rains, right, they will close it down. You won't be able to use them, no matter the drainage, right? So if if you get a heavy pour
Mm-hmm.
and you have a turf field, supposedly you could still run in the rain. Like all turf fields, we've run in lots of rain games. If it's grass, the town will not allow you, no matter how perfect. Because even like the JV fields at the high school, right, they have great drainage over there. They will not allow you to run on those fields after a big rain. Or if it's raining. Because what happens is it gets muddy, you get the divots, and then it makes more maintenance for them to have to go fix it all up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. If the turf field discussion is really intended for us to solve problems for the high school athletic complex,
I think it's for the town in general, not just for the high school.
it's going to turn to a high school field. I mean, like it was about solving for CIAC championships.
Yeah.
That's the high school.
Yeah, and I think a lot of like the complaints.
I'm just saying, as a taxpayer, also, why wouldn't we focus on
Yeah.
solving for the high school if that's really what we were trying to solve?
Because the
for?
high school is a bigger problem. Like they'd have to go and that's like a whole different strategy thing they have to look at.
I just think this is a very. I think if money was no object, a turf field would be fantastic. But again, as a taxpayer, the cost of a field, there is a cost to maintain it, and there is a replacement cost. And we know this town does not like to fix and maintain and replace. So when it comes time to replace it, and all of a sudden there isn't, in 15 years when the replacement is $2 million, $2.5 million, and there's no money,
Yeah.
and we have a useless turf field,
Yeah, then the middle
and everyone
school-
goes, "There's no money to replace it. Sorry, guys." Like, there's no foresight. There's no planning. And
and then it's
and
used-
we could have just fixed divots and spent a couple
Yeah.
$1,000s reseeding every year to fix a grass turf field and been on our
Again,
merry way.
it's not even our decision
Yeah,
to make.
no, I
This
get
is this is the town council's decision. All we're doing is providing them numbers.
Well, but I'm sorry, it is gonna be our decision to make as a board if we wanna
Use our
make a change
budget.
request for the turf field, no?
If the town council decides they want us to put a turf field in, because it's not reimbursable, it's gonna be town funded, then they're gonna direct us to do that. They can direct us to do anything, because we report to them.
I don't
Just like they can
understand.
direct us to put signs up for Little League, which you're voting on tonight.
I think though, yeah, so certainly as taxpayers, I think we can definitely go to town council and, not as maybe building committee members, but make our voices known. As a building committee though, we do have a responsibility right to the middle school. So I think there is some like conversations that maybe need to be had, like with athletic directors and the gym teacher, to make sure that if a turf field goes in, it does still meet the academic requirements of physical education.
Yeah.
So we do have that obligation, right? I'm
Yeah.
assuming it does, but I just want to ask the
Yeah.
question.
For sure.
Sorry, I was under the impression that we had authority to control what gets built.
We do unless the town council votes for something else, which they haven't done yet, right? I mean, just like they had to vote for our plan, right? They had to agree to what the plan was. We went to them like, this is what we're suggesting, go do it.
Right. We voted for something and they
Right.
agreed to it.
Right.
But this is different. This is, we would potentially not agree to something, and then they would tell us, too bad, this is what's being done.
Yes, they could do that too.
So is a turf field at the high school completely out of the question now because of the neighbors not wanting that
So the
facility there?
location of the field today, if they wanted to make it, if they wanted to redo the field today and put the stands and everything that needs there, it's facing the neighborhood, and they don't want, there'll be a noise issue. And in addition to that, because of the way they move everything, the drainage, there's like a pond, there's a retention pond, you know, that little, it'd overfill. So it got shut down by planning and zoning, like you can't do it that way. So
And there was also traffic concerns.
And traffic
Because
concerns.
they're adding,
Yes.
that plan added 90 parking spots, and there's only one entrance and exit to
So
the school.
so the town, when they, it's really a town who planned this all out. I wouldn't say the committee, because they're really a town. They wanted to be as cost effective as possible and reuse the space that they had. But to do it properly, they really needed to build on the current JV fields facing ECS is where they should have done it, and remap the entire athletic fields and moved everything around so that it could satisfy like, all the key stakeholders in the area. Now, should they build ECS on top of the practice football field and and disturb the fields, then there may be some option to reimburse, you know, some portion of that rework, but
Well, ECS has a lot of land, too.
ECS has a lot of land. So that's like, you know, something they should think about. It's like, hey, well, if your plan is to go replace that building and you're gonna put it like behind where it currently is, and now you're disturbing fields, and you have to get trucks there and whatever, that might be a reason to have to like, you know, fold all that into one project.
Right.
But that is beyond the scope of this team,
Right.
so.
And I
let
think,
them
kind
think
of going
about it.
back to Matt's point about kind of like purview and things like that, I understood too, and I might be wrong, that the town, if they were to decide to make this a turf field, could fund that through their own mechanism, right? Like outside of the project. I think
They
maybe
could.
Jack, you were talking about that
Yeah.
in the beginning. So
I
then,
think that's, yeah.
so then it wouldn't be.
To me,
with-
that would be a
I
different
mean,
story.
it's apples and apples, right?
I know.
It's like
I
whether it's
understand.
within our umbrella or if it's within their umbrella, it's still the town's paying for it. So
But it's-
Well, then it
but
would
it's
go
a-
to the Board of Finance.
Yeah,
if it's within their umbrella,
it would.
Well, no, if the town council wants to spend something, they can spend something, and then the Board of Finance would decide if it gets funded.
I think the new charter change though gives them authority up to 5% to approve things.
No, it would still
Doesn't
have
it?
to go through the Board of
Finance.
Finance.
It still does.
Yeah.
Because
Board
the
of Finance is
other,
different.
because the other concern is if we are using our contingency / our kind of like budget savings to do that, and other things come up for this project,
Right.
that money wouldn't be there to do those things because we used our project for the turf field. But if
Yeah.
it's something the town wants to do, then should they fund it through their mechanisms of going through the Board of Finance and potentially going to referendum if it were to hit those thresholds? So there is a bit of a procedure
Yeah.
that needs to be
I think
looked
there's
at.
a lot of things that need to be worked out, but the first step is what are we looking at? Like, how much is it going to
Get the
cost? What are the
information,
options? That type of stuff. Like, let's
I'm
just
saying
give them what
if-
information
if
we have.
We give them information, but I thought it would have been a vote that we would make to change the requirements, and in which case I would say we should, you know, gather information from other schools that have put in turf fields that potentially have gone back to grass. Like I know someone mentioned that Southington High School was kind of a little disenchanted with the results. I know Woket put some in, so
I
just
think it also depends on what you put in.
anecdotally, you know, just wanting to know what people have had.
I mean, Jack, is
experience
this
with it.
something we need to
So-
vote on first before the town council can even vote on it, or do they have, like,
From what you're describing, it sounds as though the town has an intent to provide artificial turf. This is one opportunity to locate an artificial turf field. They've asked you for, for the project to give them some order of magnitude costs. After that, all bets are off as to what funding mechanism is used or just how it sails from there. They might say, well, the project's on track to finish under budget, let's let them finish under budget, and then maybe we'll take those monies and reinvest it somewhere else while they're still noodling out how they do it town-wide.
Yeah. But if we were to vote and say, no, we don't want a turf field, they can still say they want a turf field and make us put a turf field in, right?
As you say, since the town council created you, they can also give you directives.
Yeah. So it's no point in voting on something that they're just gonna potentially, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna vote on. They may shoot it down too, for all we know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're putting a.
Cart before the horse?
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so enough of that. And then the email from the principal of the high school. So is that even possible to cut up pieces of the gym floor? Is that something you can actually do?
I
we
remember
talked about that.
we talked about this, and I don't remember who it was. Basically said the minute you cut it, it's just gonna fall to pieces.
Right?
Because it's not. It's just laid. There's nothing underneath it holding the pieces together.
They
Like,
originally
It's not
wanted
laminated
to
on top?
save- They wanted to save the
The
emblem in the middle of the
center,
floor
and it's just
originally.
gonna it's individual pieces of
They
wood.
did it at stores. I mean, whatever they did at stores to
But
like
it's
partition off
They
the
sold
floor.
those for a lot of money, though.
I'm sure they did, but they had a mechanism to.
As somebody who has one.
like it's
I mean, would you have to like laminate the floor with like an epoxy and then cut into it?
We just don't know enough about the existing system and whether or not there's hazardous material under there. We just don't know enough about it.
Okay.
Rosanna, we're probably going to have to do a test cut, see how it's actually assembled, and then make some decisions on that later.
Okay.
It may need to be glued together before it's actually handed to somebody. It may need to be laminated with something. We just don't know.
I can appreciate the spirit behind the request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There may be information in the environmental study that was done during the design phase to help us quantify, what our abatement costs were going to be. But I don't know that we're going to have enough to definitively say, oh yeah, fine, you can go do that. I mean, it may be more involved than it's expected to be.
Did Mr. Cuckle offer the woodworking group to?
Yeah,
do
to
some
come
of
and to come and cut it up. They were
I
gonna
think
come
you
and
want to
cut it up.
test it first and find out what's there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
before you start cutting.
Yeah, and then also like,
If they're gonna.
Yeah.
Do it.
how does that impact timeline, right?
Right,
Like
like-
if the,
if we how much time are we gonna have between cutting it up and testing and this building being down to the ground?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be a pretty quick process, no? Like we're not gonna have
like that could add on
like-
time, right? So there's a few concerns that would need to be explored.
Yeah.
Environment,
like we're not gonna
timeline.
wait to figure out the floor. I mean, this building's like coming down.
Well, how old are the bleachers? Can you cut up the bleachers? I mean,
No.
just
And the
throwing out
emblem in the
ideas.
middle is it's CMS, so it's not even a high school thing, so that doesn't have any value to them. It's more just
So
the
it's
wood
really,
itself.
so it's really just the floor, like pieces of the floor?
Yeah, nostalgic because of the championships
The-
won on
gym
that
should-
floor.
The gym should be kind of idle next
So
July
wouldn't
and August.
Is it the
right?
original
Like,
floor? It must be the original floor.
I don't know if there's other use.
It'd be
Yeah.
fun if it wasn't the original floor.
Claudia.
Yes, Claudia.
It wouldn't be a big deal, as long as the, what we found in the past is the felt underneath, tends to be asbestos, especially in the older buildings, but that's usually underneath the sleeper. Usually it's constructed, concrete, felt, sleepers, and then the, 3/4 inch, either maple or oak floor.
I
All you
mean,
have to do is
yeah.
rip up the boards.
I think
You
if-
don't have to cut them into 1-inch blocks.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
you do is rip up the long board. They can put them,
And then
Yeah,
give
it's
to
all
them.
give
hung
the
in
wooden,
glue.
give the boards to the woodworking team
Yeah,
group and just be like,
it's-
here are the
they're all-
boards. You
yeah.
guys glue them together
Yeah,
and
they're
cut
all
them.
tongue and groove, so they fit like a puzzle.
Yeah.
And then they
Put it
can
back
cut them
together.
I
into
like
one
that
by
plan.
1 foot. It's something that's very simple and it won't
Huh?
take a lot of time.
As long as you don't disturb any asbestos underneath.
Well, that is correct. That's something we would have to make sure,
What? I'm
that
sorry.
we don't disturb anything underneath.
Oh, yeah.
But over the years, I've run across enough gym floors that have gotten water and they swelled up
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And all you do is basically saw cut, relieve the pressure, and bring them down and re-nail them. So this is not a big to-do.
All right. So but I really like the idea of just taking the planks that group and be like,
They
you
can-
guys glue them, cut them,
Whatever they want to do with them afterwards.
shape them into panthers for all we care, whatever you want to do with it.
So they would just have to coordinate like a timing and like how to pick them up and move them,
Yeah,
that woodworking group.
yeah, yeah. One board at a time.
Here's the pile. Have at it.
All right, I'll reply to
Yeah,
him
that's-
with that
that's
idea.
just as-
Okay.
But there could be asbestos
But it should be
concerns.
a
Right.
test first, just to
Yeah,
make
with
sure
the
that
test
they're
it.
safe.
Yeah, I don't want to give kids.
Yeah.
And make sure it's no
It's not a big deal.
asbestos.
You do a test cut.
And the district, and the project.
I can't be responsible for that.
Doesn't mean you have to make all.
All right,
If
let's,
it's the kids that are walking
You
through
don't
the
have to, you
existing
know,
middle
worry
school,
about
I'm sure
it.
they've been exposed to worse things.
oh gosh. All right, moving right along. Communication subcommittee report.
It's not a big deal. We can make it a big deal.
No report in addition to just kind of our regular cadence of communications.
Okay. Design subcommittee.
Okay, so the design subcommittee had a meeting on Monday, June 3rd, and we invited Ken Cleveland to meet with us, and we met with Melissa Post from Wildflower Creative Company, and we talked through, with Melissa, who's a graphic designer, what the general process typically looks like for the development of wall graphics. We kind of just picked her brain what the process looks like very broadly. And it typically, she just described the process as typically starting with a discovery meeting with clients in what the space looks like, what kind of themes and just general ideas and is where to start with. Then goes back and forth with follow-up meetings to work graphics and rework them several times until they meet client standards. Then it follows up with proofs of graphics to ensure, and these are like full-size proofs to make sure that colors match the intent. And that there's no unintended pixelation. And then once that is kind of checks out, then the actual wall graphic for
Gets
installation is printed and they go up in the spaces. So we talked a little bit about the generalities of our project, the spaces we had, the ideas that the design subcommittee had come up with for cafeteria, media center, which I don't know what that's going to even look like now that space is even going to have a graphic anymore. Main Street, which the design subcommittee is now envisioning 2 separate wall graphics in that space, one above the auditorium space, one above the gym space. And then, what's the other space I'm missing?
Breakout.
The breakout spaces in the hallways.
There's 3 of those, right?
Yes, one for each wing. And kind of the colors for each of those spaces. So we talked to her a little bit about that. And then we asked her if she could put together for us so that we could see some of the work she's done, so portfolio, resume. And then Ken Jackson asked her for just a general order of magnitude that she could give us, just so we could kind of see from another graphic designer what she thought that would entail for her fees, so we could have something else to look at to then present to the committee. We still haven't seen that from her. She has my email address, so if she has any other questions. So we're still waiting for that, but the design subcommittees were comfortable with what we have for ideas for what we'd like to see in the spaces. We just need somebody to take the ideas in our heads and kind of put them onto
Paper.
onto paper, so to speak. So put them digitally. So we're waiting to get some information back from Melissa and then figure out from the committee kind of where we go next. We're not sure exactly what the process is and how what we're allowed to do and how we do it.
Okay. Whatever happened with the Cromwell Arts Alliance?
So we talked about it with the design subcommittee, and we kind of feel that painting is not, we don't want to go the route of painting.
Okay.
We feel like, one, there's probably not, there's not enough time. Painting is usually a very time-consuming, tedious process. It may also be very hard to know exactly what you're going to get, right?
So even if they design something, we wouldn't have like that proof to see what it would actually look like.
Right, like you can give them what you want and they could go by a picture, but then when it's up on a wall, it's not always what you think you're gonna get.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And we just feel like over time, a wall graphic would stand over time a little better.
Okay.
So we liked the idea of a wall graphic over a painting.
And a wall graphic, is that like wallpaper or is it like a big sticker?
My understanding is it's one. It's not like sheets. It should be one.
Like a wrap?
Yes, from my understanding, it's one.
It's big pieces?
It is in pieces. Okay, but it's
But it's not like wallpaper, right?
It's a vinyl product that's actually printed.
Yeah.
It's very durable, but it does have seams.
But
So
it's the kind of
it's
thing like they wrap cars in, like that kind of vinyl, like wrap type stuff. They just kind of. No.
It's pretty heavy.
It is heavy. Okay.
So that works, it's just like rendered in a smaller scale, and then it gets sent out to someone who puts it on a larger scale, and
Basically, it's a computer-generated image that's a certain file type that's given to the people who fabricate it.
Okay.
And typically, what they will do is do pieces of it and send it for approval so that you can check the color and the resolution of the product before it's completely printed and shipped to the site.
And we already have budget for that part, the fabricating of it. It's the design work.
And we should have budget for who's installing it as
we
well.
have I believe the installation piece is set in the budget
Because we haven't been there yet, so.
because that was bid on. So that's part of the bid package. I guess it's the design work piece.
Yeah. That's
That's in limbo. Materials and labor. Okay, so the materials and labor. So it's the design work piece
Yeah.
that's in limbo.
Yeah.
But like if it occupies say a 12-foot by 15-foot like area, will you actually receive material that is 12 by 15, or will you receive like the pieces and then whatever the natural color of the background is?
So we have, so my understanding from what I got from Newfield is that it's called out, and Joe Culata, it's called out like we have a square footage allowance, so to speak. So like for Main Street, he called out so many square feet, and if we break that into three smaller, we could do 3 smaller graphics or one large. So we're kind of working within that
Yeah, no, I just mean
allowance.
like logistically the material itself. Will the material itself have gaps in it to allow like the background color that's being applied to show, or will it be one solid?
It's like a
actual
sheet.
Piece?
It's a sheet.
It's a
It's
solid.
multiple sheets that cover
Yep.
the wall.
Multiple sheets that
Yeah,
that
so it's like
go on
printed on a
together. Yep.
sheet.
Right.
So like
it's
if
not
it was going
layered.
on a red wall, it would probably be printed red to match the wall, so it doesn't look
That
like
was
it's.
my question. Would it be
Consider
clear?
it custom wallpaper,
Yeah.
you know, for,
Okay.
at the concept level.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks. Yeah.
All right. Anything
Excuse me.
else? Yeah.
Who decides what's on that graphics?
The design
Design
subcommittee would decide, and then you bring it to the building committee for final approval.
Is there anyone from the school administration or the Board of Ed on this design committee that's gonna pick out a graphics that's gonna be in the school?
Design subcommittee will make a recommendation and see if the school would be okay with it. They already got input, right? Heather, you already spoke to them about their idea of like STEAM and all that stuff.
Well, we had, they're fairly generic. They're not like,
Yeah.
we did have a meeting. Anne was on the first meeting with us. We had the discovery meeting with
Yeah.
Perkins Eastman.
Yeah. So maybe during discovery meeting, we can have them provide some input too.
Yeah, I mean we're still
Yeah, early.
we had that one meeting and then
Yeah.
we haven't had anything else. So
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? That's it? All right, FFE Subcommittee, Claudio?
It's been fun.
bet.
We've already held a couple meetings. Blaze was in one of them, the first one, the bigger one. And John, because it happens during the day when we have the teachers and administrators, and John working, he wasn't able to attend, but he's received some of the notes. We've gone through about 90%, definitely hit all the big items, student furniture. We're working towards finalizing the choices. After meeting with us as a group and listening to the teachers and administrators and the superintendent, narrowed down a lot of the choices. They've recently delivered samples to the school. They're located in the cafeteria. We wanted to get them. The stage, well, that's part of that, that's part of that same room. Wanted to get some samples to the building before the staff went home for the summer, so they were able to look at them and feel on them, sit on them. So we're working through that process. Tomorrow's the last day of school. When John came in, one of the things I asked John is if he has some time next week, if he wants to go to the school after work, I'll meet him there, and just to take a look at what it is. One of the things that John and I both look at is this thing is the furniture gonna last? What kind of quality it is? I don't think I really care what color the chair is. I'm more concerned that it doesn't damage the floors and it's built solid so we can maintain it and repair it and last a long time. There was also a meeting that occurred yesterday with technology meeting. That went well also, so that is well underway. We got a few little items, also the custodial equipment, which I'm working through that. I've asked for plans. Does anybody on the building committee have plans to this building? Because I've heard that like 10 set of plans were given out, whether some went to the town, some were brought to the, who?
In his office,
Paul has a set?
Laura said it's supposed to have in his office.
To the new building?
Like
Okay,
the
awesome.
others.
But, so working through, yeah, looking at the full set to determine exactly all the different surfaces that we're dealing with and what kind of equipment we're gonna need for interior and exterior. So we're moving along for a short period of time. We've got quite a bit done.
Do we need special maintenance equipment for any of these, like, flooring materials that
Yes.
we're using? Like, are we using new flooring
It's not
materials?
special, different. Really, I don't wanna say there's special equipment, it's different. All four schools are almost all carpeted, but this building is not gonna have carpeting. So the equipment is gonna be tailored towards the type of vinyl surface there is and how we maintain that, the bathroom surfaces. So we're adjusting to that. Also quantities as far as the size of the building and the different types of flooring and stages, lifts to get up to the highlights and also the lift to get up on the roof. So we're working through all those details.
Are those all reimbursable?
Yes.
Maintenance equipment?
All the interior equipment is reimbursable, lifts are reimbursable, and the majority of outside equipment, unless people get really crazy, is also reimbursable. So we're trying to keep everything as reimbursable as possible.
So you said 90% of the stuff is done. What's the remaining 10% that you have, like, a day left with teachers to figure out?
No, I don't think we're left with the teachers. I think it's just finalizing the choices that have been made,
Okay.
confirming that the choices, and I would say the rest of the 10% is really, once we have the choices, is then putting a budget together, and then it's pricing out. You can't price it out until people have already picked and finalized, and then looking at the budget, see what the cost is and how it compares with the budget, and that determines whether we need to cut things back or if we have room to add more. Our key priority is staying within budget and making sure the school has everything it needs. But there's different price and for different items, so we want to make sure we get as much as we can and get, best bang for the buck.
What's the word? I thought of a question, I lost it. Is there any benefit for the building committee to go see the samples?
It's more of a curiosity factor because the teachers and are the ones who are more familiar with the students, the size of the students, how the programs are going to be run in the building, how flexible the furniture needs to be to meet those needs.
I've been collecting that from the teachers, making them go look at it and stuff, so I've been getting some very strong opinions.
Are you getting opinions that are like conflicting? Like some teachers.
Yeah, somewhat, but we're working through it. So we'll see. And I have a couple questions for either Claudia or for Patrick, the suburban guy, to see if that's what he has is what we're exactly limited to, what he brought.
No.
Okay.
What he's brought is based on the information he's received
Right,
from the
it's
staff.
just some-
If staff turn around and say, no, that's not what we had in mind, then
It
we
was more like
expect him to bring-
modifications to what he gave us is what I'm
What's
interested
like?
in.
What's an example of a concern they're having?
Well, there's basically two student desks they're looking at. One is rectangular, one is trapezoidal. And so there's difference of opinion. Some people people feel strongly either way as
Yeah.
to which they prefer.
The
So-
trapezoidal, you can group them into like tables, right?
Well, yes, but then sometimes you have a big hole in the middle. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
You
there's
can,
an,
you can group rectangles into
yeah,
tables too.
I mean, you can, but it's, we get into the weeds, we teachers. so,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So but I should have, I have my Google form out now, so I'll have
Fantastic.
a definitive answer hopefully by tomorrow.
And then central office, do they have their own furniture that they were able to get their hands on?
As far as the choices,
Samples, yeah.
everything is moving along. Furniture has been chosen, the sizes, they're working through the sizes right now, because the detail that we had on the prints didn't have actual sizes, and the pieces that were used in the prints weren't exactly to scale of the space. So we're working through that to make sure it fits. We're also having the Patrick from Suburban go through the furniture that we currently have in central office to see which pieces can be relocated, to also offset any costs. Being a
Yeah.
little frugal on how we spend. There's some furniture that's very recent.
Yeah.
There's bookshelves and filing cabinets that those last forever that we can bring over rather than buy new ones. So we're doing an assessment of that also in central office to
Okay.
see where we can find some savings.
And everyone knows which office they're gonna get now? We
Yes.
figured that out. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
that's all been worked out.
All right, any other updates for FF&E?
No.
Okay. Perkins,
Good evening, everybody. I'm covering for Joe Collada. He is at a son's graduation tonight, and he says hello to everybody, but he'll be back next time. A lot of the stuff that I was going to talk about has been touched upon, but I'll sort of go through some of the things that we've been doing very quickly, and there'll be additional information from Newfield and I'm sure from Arcadis a little bit later. But we have really a field report. We've been going out to the field on a regular basis. We've been also processing I'm sorry, go one more. Oops. Okay. We've been processing RFIs and submittals on a regular basis, and we've been working on those on a prioritized basis to keep the trade contractors working and not idle in any manner. We have observed the work, and the quality of the work is excellent. We're very pleased with the progress of the work and the quality of the work. There's no complaints there. We've noticed that the water problem that we had earlier in the construction is well under control, and we also recognize the height of the footings and foundations. I think that was a concern early on, and if you go to the site now, you can get a sense of where the finished floors are going to be, and you can see that they're substantially above where the water levels are. So I think that's behind us at this point. But anyway, so that's that. Now we're going to give a FF&E. So Claudio touched upon many of the things that I was going to say, but we are finishing up the FF&E selection process. We've had several meetings for programming and selection. As Claudio mentioned, we've had some samples delivered, student chairs and desks, and I think we've even gotten some teacher desks and teacher chairs.
We
Yeah, I
got,
think.
we got teacher chairs today.
Yeah.
2 teacher chairs.
Yeah,
We
so
don't have any
that's-
teacher desks.
That's also things that are going to be looked at. But, generally, when we're doing FF&E, we have a very simple philosophy that we follow. Number one, we select things that are going to last and be very durable for a very long time. What we do not want to do is, for the sake of saving cost, buy furniture that is going to fall apart. The pieces and parts have to last a very, very long time. So typically, the quality that we select is going to be of the highest quality, the most durable products. We don't specify things that are trendy, typically. We specify things that are tried and true and that we know are going to give very, very good service. The other thing we do is we design to the budget. Okay, so we spend a lot of time, and we're going to be starting the estimating process, where we'll be checking the pricing, multiplying by the quantity, and coming up with the budget. And as you see there, our budgets are not super generous, but we think we've got enough money to handle the FF&E. And the technology budget has been recently increased to 1.225, which is good. On that topic, we are starting to specify the active electronics in the building, which is a very important component in the building, and that particular technology changes very rapidly. So we want to make sure that we get the latest and greatest in the specs, so when the building is built, you have the latest technology there. Similarly, with the central administrative offices, we're going through the exact same process as we are with the main building. And we think that process is going very well. We look at the schedule. Well, that's, Claudio mentioned, we've got just about the entire building populated with furniture, and we're starting to adjust the actual sizes of pieces and parts to reflect what's actually going to be specified, so we know that everything fits and that it all works properly. We are still waiting for, I think, the custodial equipment, Claudio, and that's a very important component to the building, because that's going to keep your building looking really great for many years. We want to make sure we get that. The other component, I think, is the media center. We still need more time on that because there's some program changes, as was mentioned earlier, about getting rid of that Teams room and having a more open space, and perhaps more stack area is part of that process. So we need a little bit more time in that space. But generally, the building furniture and the quantity is very well understood. Schedule. So the schedule, you see that orange vertical line?
Can I just
is-
ask
Yeah.
one quick question?
Mhm.
I remember, I don't know if it was touring a school or when we were doing the original teacher interviews about the cafeteria tables, and Heather, maybe you remember. I can't remember if somebody said circles or rectangles were no circles. Okay.
Rectangles,
Oh,
bench seats,
okay.
no individual seats, they
Yeah.
break off.
All right, I thought I saw
That's
circles.
exactly what we heard.
on there.
It was in a photo that hasn't been updated, but
Yeah.
Okay,
when we
perfect.
met, we straightened
I
that
just
out.
remember that coming up. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
We clarified. Thank you.
One thing, I believe that cafeteria chairs, tables has been resolved. You guys know exactly what you want. And then the other thing about the FF&E is what components can we bring from the current building, as long as it is the right size, shape, it's in very good condition, and it kind of matches the families that we're buying. What we don't want is a bunch of mix match chairs or pieces of furniture. That looks terrible. There's nothing worse than taking a piece of furniture that's had 5 years of service and putting it right next to something that's brand new. It just makes it look so much worse. So we want to be careful that the things that we're thinking about moving over aren't going to look bad when we actually install them.
Excuse me, Joe, has the auditorium chairs been purchased?
That's part of the base job.
That's already in
That's
there.
part of the base job. Yep. That's fixed, it's bolted to the floor. Okay?
You guys are reviewing that smell right now.
Are we? Okay. Is there a fabric color?
I'm sure that there's.
Okay, so there may be a fabric color that has to be finalized on the upholstery. But anyway, the schedule, we're right on schedule of where we should be. The selection process is ongoing, and you see that there's a slight overlap on the design and documentation. So as we pick things, we begin the documentation process. And the state of Connecticut has a very detailed process that they ask design teams and construction managers to go through, and OPMs when it comes to furniture. They actually do count the number of pieces and parts that we do buy, and they compare that with the projected enrollment. They do look at the price of certain items. What they don't want are districts buying things that are, I'll use the expression, gold-plated. We see them as high-quality, ergonomic things, but sometimes they say, how could you be spending this much money? So they do look at those kinds of things. There are a number of items that will be ineligible. For example, desktop electronics are not going to be eligible. Certain sports equipment is not going to be eligible. Things that can generally walk will not be eligible. They've really cracked down on that. But we spend a lot of time informing the committee about what's eligible and ineligible, and oftentimes we try to convince people that they are eligible. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not. Jack's really good at making things eligible, so we'll bring him along. But anyway, the process is going very well. The intent is to have a submission package ready as soon as the summer's over, and we're talking about early to mid-September, where we'll have a similar plan completion review like we did for the main building. And we'll show the state our documents, we'll show them the pieces and parts, we'll show specifications, we'll show them the bid documents, and ultimately we'll get a letter that says we're able to procure the products. And then, later we're going to have a discussion about some of the options of procurement, whether we go on a state bid list or if we go on the open market. There's some advantages and disadvantages to each of those. We're just not ready to talk to that tonight, but that'll be something that really should start to think about as we go through the summer. And then, of course, we've got the award. We're trying to get this package awarded this year so that we take advantage of 2024 prices. And then, we'll wait and we'll have the packages delivered when the building is ready. And that final date will, have to really be determined. There's usually a window to fit a building of this size. It may be a week to 10 days, maybe a little bit longer. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to get the furniture delivered, assembled, installed, and checked out before the teachers and students arrive.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So between the building being ready for the FFE, the desks and everything, and the desks being installed, who cleans and dusts and removes all the debris and everything? Is that something that our maintenance people would do? Is that something construction crew would do?
Associated with the FF&E or associated with the construction?
Construction. You would do
Yes.
that. Okay. So you have a cleaning crew that's going to come in and dust everything down?
Wasn't there a bid for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make
So
sure.
just to answer the question regarding the FF&E, the FF&E vendors are required to remove their trash
Okay.
and protect the building. So what happens is, we don't want a pile of stuff left over, packing,
Yeah.
miscellaneous screws, all that kind of stuff. They're responsible for getting that out of the building and leaving the building clean.
And then if they were to bring stuff in and damage something, they're responsible for getting it fixed?
Correct, right. So there's provisions in the agreement that you'll see that protects, there's insurance requirements. There's a lot that goes into it.
Is there an inspection too before?
Yes, so typically what happens is we will visit the site when everything is installed, or maybe twice, halfway and then the final. What we'll do is a visual inspection of the entire school. We'll note any items that are damaged, scratched, or not correct, and that'll create a punch list that is given to the FF&E vendors, and they'll be required to fix it before the funds are actually released. So that's a very important process, and it happens very quickly because usually the FF&E is just right before the kids arrive.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we really have time for that? I mean, I mean, has it been built in appropriately here? It looks like, unless it's a typo, we've got a week of overlap. So the school will be ready late August, and then FF&E goes to September?
That's 2 months.
Well, so I'm looking at the difference between the end of the gray bar and the orange bar. Yeah.
No, as the work is finished, the FF&E is delivered. That's the way it works.
The
Slight over.
school starts August
Okay.
Yeah, as
27th.
he's polishing floors
Well, it's always last Wednesday.
and
So,
finishing the job,
So it just looks really tight.
it is. It is very
The whole
tight.
Okay.
district. The whole district.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to add to that, there's a lot of other schools that have the same schedule. So that's with the advantage of bidding as early as you possibly can. So it's not only locking in the prices, but you're also locking in the delivery and installation.
Yeah.
So how tight is this timeline between the vertical orange line and the start of school? Is there any wiggle in there? So, for example, if it takes longer to get approval on all the documentation, are we in a day-for-day slip? Or
No,
is there room for flexibility in there?
All that white space.
Yeah,
Yeah, I assume that's lead time to buy everything.
yeah,
Is that
yeah. That's good.
supply chain
But
issues?
it's still being
Does it,
paced by
like,
construction, right?
there's a lead time to make that stuff? Is there flexibility in there?
Are you saying so if the award bar slides into 2025? Yeah, we've got time.
Okay.
We've got time.
But the whole thing's being paced by the construction schedule. Like,
Yeah.
you have to finish the building, get the CO first.
Oh, no,
before-
right. If FF&E were to become the pacer eventually,
Like the procurement pacer.
yeah,
Right.
if all of a sudden, like, the Formica on the tables or whatever it is now a big supply chain problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just is there flexibility in there?
Yeah.
Supply chain.
See, what will happen is, as part of the bid package, the delivery schedule will be in there. So if there is a supply chain issue, we'll be informed before the award. Okay? Now, if something happens in May of 2025 that we can't predict, well, we don't know. Yeah. All right.
The other thing, Jessica, is it's not uncommon at all on construction timelines like this for punch list items to be finalized after the school has their certificate of occupancy, and it'll go into September, October. You'll see the painters come back and things like that after hours and take care of some other stuff. So
Yeah.
you do have a window after opening for punch list items.
Yeah,
to be
I think I
closed
remember
out.
John saying he still had a punch list for the school.
Will expire when I'm 66.
There you go. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thanks. I'm just trying to look for what's the sensitivity on the timeline.
Which will not happen with this crew.
Yeah. Won't
Correct?
happen. Correct.
All right.
So we touched upon some of these design revision requests. I have not been 100% involved in these like Joe Collada, but this is the list that he put together, including the changes that Claudio mentioned at the media center. There's some minor tweaks to the central administration offices. I don't know what they are. There's some requests for something in the robotics room as well as in the art room. The nurses suite, I think they're asking for refrigerator or something like that. And then the new site sign you guys mentioned earlier this evening. These sort of small little tweaks to the plan. I know that Joe is looking at those, and I know he's putting together a proposal that he'll share with you guys, and then we can have a discussion about that.
So some of those changes, though, were rather urgent because of, like, electricity and plumbing and stuff like that we had to put in.
Yeah, I think, Rosanna, the ones that are urgent, we've already taken care of,
Yeah,
right? Because what we don't want to do is hold up the construction team, so I
Yeah.
think those,
yeah.
there's nothing on this list, according to what Joe told me, is urgent or holding up the construction.
Okay.
Okay?
To that note, the pipe that was approved the other day that we did, that is already in the ground and ready to be poured.
Nice. And what about the, oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Pipe and the conduit.
The what?
The conduit is there too.
Oh, good, okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
A big item here on this list is the PV system on the building. So that's one I think that you guys want to proceed with, which makes a lot of sense. We touched upon the synthetic turf field, and Joe Collada, I think, sent some questions over that we need some clarifications
Yep,
on.
yep.
And, once we get designing it, the different manufacturers, the different features, the substrates, all that kind of stuff will be talked about in detail. And then there's this easement mapping that is on this list.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know what this, do you know what it is?
Yeah, so.
You know what it is, Jack?
Go ahead.
Just talking to the mic.
Yes, so that utility easements, it's for the main power coming in from the street to the substation or the
That's correct. It's
transformers.
the
So
Why is that
gives-
why is that a revision?
Because the utility company needs an easement for their access to the electrical cabinets from the street to the building where they terminate.
We never thought we needed that from the beginning.
No, I can't answer that. All that I know is that Newfield wouldn't necessarily be a part of the easement planning process. That's usually a lot of legalese on the town's end of things. So I don't usually get involved in easements or rights of way for utility companies. I can help with the process,
Yeah.
but it's not in my purview.
But who's driving this revision? I guess.
Eversource is asking, because it's not just a matter of I'm going from, if I'm the telephone pole and Jessica's a transformer, they don't usually ask for an easement, they just put the conduits in, you're done. Since we're going through a considerable distance of town property from where the service comes in off the street to where the new vault is going to be for the transformer, they're asking that we map it as an official easement on the land records, which I haven't typically run into. I'm surprised that they didn't ask for this when they were talking with the engineers during the design phase, or else they would have communicated that before now. But now that the discussions with Eversource are proceeding to the point of actually getting things installed, that's when the subject came up of, put it on a map, we're gonna need to have this
So,
in our name.
so this is just like a drawing change where you're gonna highlight an area as easement that you can't
Right.
build anything on. It's not like you're
Yeah.
actually physically doing anything different.
No, it's lines on a map
Line,
that,
yeah.
that are tied to a legal document
Yeah,
that then
yeah,
has
yeah,
to be
yeah.
filed. And
Okay.
it may need to even be approved by town council.
Does this mean we're needing all of these new Mylars and everything again?
I hope not. I really hope not. There'll probably be a
There-
new
there-
Mylar.
There will have
One?
to be a new map,
Yeah.
on the land records, to record it.
Yeah.
But
That's not digital. We don't do digital in town. It's all paper, huh?
So, and just to summarize that, it was only Eversource Electrical. It was not the gas. It wasn't Frontier or Fiber.
Do we
or
need to
anything along
follow
those
up with them? Like, why would one need it and not the others?
lines. They want unencumbered access.
It's really good.
It's a new one.
Can you handle your company?
I just sent the emails.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when we tear up the parking lot, we also need the lines to the new sign, right, for electrical and data.
Yes.
I didn't see that on the list, but that's another.
That's part of the sign. That's part of the sign.
That's part of the sign
Yeah,
work.
It's not just the sign, it's
It's all the
the
electrical.
utilities that go to
Okay.
it.
All right.
Yep. So that's it. So as I said, most of the stuff was covered by others.
Okay.
So, where it says on here, new design work estimates with possible action to approve, that would be for the next meeting?
Yeah, we'll have to.
When
Yeah,
when
when
Joe's
Joe,
back.
yeah, when Joe gets the numbers together, he'll issue a draft letter or something,
Okay.
and then you guys can look at it.
All right, thank you.
What
was the action for the easement? What was the action on
What you're seeing here is, that's the
Like, they're gonna.
Now we're looking back into the B building. This is the firewall between the B building and the rest of the main building. You can see all the underground plumbing going in here. They're bringing in gravel here. Yes, this is the two-story classroom wing. There's your stair tower on the west side.
People in town wanted,
And They want to name the little island and the retention pond.
So, once again, here's all your underground plumbing going in. These are science labs right here. Moving forward, here's your main hallway coming down. There's the elevator again. There's that firewall separation. Now you're coming into, this is your cafeteria, kitchen, utility spaces. There's the other firewall. Here's the BOE area right here. So we're done with all of these footings right in this area now. We poured this wall today. Actually, yesterday. We poured this wall right here today. This area is 100% complete now. We're moving our way back this way. Here's your gym walls for the footings. This is the D wing. And actually, I take that back. That over there is the auditorium. It's the stage area. So here's your front wall. And looking back, this is the start of that secondary one-story wing that will come up and around like this. And then I just gave a couple of overall shots for you. So there's the whole project right there.
I love these videos.
So this is your gym right here. And there's the back of the stage wall right there. And here's the front of the building.
When are you going to start on the A-wing?
We already have. This video was actually taken on 6/1.
Okay.
We've already excavated % of the A-wing
Oh, wow.
footings.
Nice.
And, so that kind of segues me into the further points of the report. But that's the overall view right now as of 6/1.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Claudia. Can we get a copy of the videos that we can,
I thought we decided we weren't doing this one. I thought we were deciding I wasn't going through our monthly report. We were going to go with this. That one doesn't come up. Thank you. Yes. All right. So Ron and I will do this jointly once again.
You've got that video, right?
Yeah.
I have.
The video was too big to share, so we'll see if we can download it somehow.
Upload it to the CMS YouTube page?
Yeah, we can do that.
Because if you put it on the YouTube page, then I just link it to the site right on the YouTube page.
The other cool thing around was, instead of doing it at an empty site, I included actual activities working within there. So, yep, yeah, and I do a month, all right.
that's awesome.
Until
We
I
like videos.
yeah, until I can't get into the. So I guess Ron and I are going to go through the construction updates. We got some photos for you. Ron's going to get involved in some of this financial stuff, and then obviously there's whatever for invoices. So for target schedule activities, subgrade filling, that's what we were trying to achieve by getting the site dewatered. We're where we need to be for the footings and everything, and that subgrade filling is now coming from the bottom of footing up to within the 6-inch layer of stone below the concrete now. So we're coming up now to grade, especially in the B wing. We're looking to actually start pouring that slab and be done with it on the Thursday and Friday, and that will be our first major slab.
Rain this week.
Yeah, we're hoping. And then that will tee us up for the C area, which we're hoping to do a month later. So we're going to lag it a month and continue through. As far as temp dewatering of the site is going on, it's ongoing. It's on Mather's dime now. We are no longer. Foundation excavation is somewhere in the neighborhood of, I would say, In B, it's obviously done. C, we have 2 more interior piers and then we're done, so you're like 97% done there. And in D, we're actually forming and pouring exterior walls right now, so all of the footings in D are done. We're dropping
It's the
back.
auditorium area?
Yeah, we're dropping back on interior, beginning that whole area where the stage is. Trying to get out of that gym area though, right now. We had to pour footing walls for the high CMU walls, and that's what we're finishing right now. We're actually finishing the spread footings right now, and they're starting to form the walls on top of that.
Okay.
And then, like I said, A is footings, and they're starting to throw forms in now for the spread footings.
So going with the footings, we've been making out pretty good with the stone allowance. So, that's going well. We got certain pockets that they get some soft areas or some real sand. So, but that's going well.
Yeah, as it stands right now on the tally, we are below what we had thought that we were going to be on the high end, so we're tracking well. And once again, we're the excavation of that A area, which means that we're nearing the closeness to the end of the excavation for footings anyways, then we can close that item out. Damp proofing is following as we strip forms from walls, including but not limited to foundation, footing, drainage is going at the same time as well. Then we bring that subgrade up, shelf of the wall. And then under slab piping in B is complete as of today, and we are rolling into C area now, which will be your kitchen, main mechanical areas where the backbones of your utilities are coming in. We've already stubbed through for your water service, fire service, gas service, main electrical is starting to be stubbed through the foundation as of your main services are now being located.
That's exciting.
Yep. As far as progress is concerned, storm drainage is ongoing. We've established the sanitary line and storm drainage line along the south side of the building now. All that's in now. And then as far as other site work activities, Tri-State is on site for you every day now. They're doing compaction replacement. They're taking cylinders for concrete. These guys are all over the place right now. Nothing is coming up outside of tolerance. I actually haven't seen any deficiencies on any of those reports yet, which is a great thing. That's a great thing to report. Freeman's out there after every rain event and at a minimum once a week. And then the contaminated soils, I apologize. I don't have an absolute up-to-date on that. I believe it's done with if I'm not mistaken.
You found a place to bring them? You found a location to bring it?
I think if we don't already have a place, it's imminent. Yeah.
So going with the design progress, Newfield has been working with Perkins and their design teams. Again, like Joe had stated, they're going through the RFIs, submittals, et cetera. SES, the commissioning agent, has been out looking at the damp proofing, the waterproofing, and that's moving along well. Again, Newfield's working with Ferguson Mechanical for the MEP coordination and the clash detection. And I believe that's been running pretty seamless.
Yeah, I'm heavily involved in that right now. Critical areas are being stakeholders right now. We have a pretty good system rolling, so I'm pretty happy with how that's going.
And I believe we've talked the FFE and the technology. I think everybody's heard enough of that tonight. But that's going well, and the structural engineers and their reports, all the field reports are being copied to all the parties. So, all the structurals, they're all being distributed, and we haven't had any negative feedback on any of the reports to date.
Yeah, we strive to have answers to report items within 24 to 48 hours. We don't like things lingering. We want to close issues. And then for critical items, obviously, this whole coordination, those are the most critical items right now, whether it be an underground coordination drawing, whether it be an RFI about a specific steel dimension and how much weight it can hold because we're having deflection issues. Those kinds of things are what we're prioritizing right now. And that food service under slab coordination has been resolved, so that's no longer a critical item, okay?
Chris, when are we expecting steel?
Steel is still on schedule to arrive on or around July 15th.
When do you think they'll start going up?
On or around July 15th.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I just delivering.
Yes, no, actually, as part of the requisition process, we asked for materials and fabrications on site. There are numerous tractor-trailer trucks ready to roll, so we're in a good place
And they
right
get
now.
tested. They still get tested.
What it is they do a shop visit, make sure that the standards are being met, that all welder certs are there. They watch the process, they see what the material is. And if it gets a little out of hand sometimes, or there's questions, they may do testing on the actual steel welds or whatever it may be, x-ray tests. There's numerous
I
different
get worried
ways.
about voids and things like that, especially if they're weight bearing.
You're dealing with a very reputable subcontractor for the steel itself and the fabrication and the erection, so I don't think that there's really many concerns to be had around that.
Okay, good.
But with this steel, they will be doing the ultrasounds or the x-rays out there on the field.
Absolutely.
So there will be additional tests out
Okay.
there.
Mhm.
And I believe Tri-State was out there last week or so, maybe 10 days ago, maybe, to do a shop visit, if I
Ye-
remember right.
It was actually a little bit further
Yeah.
ago, but yes, they've been there, and they were there within application process to verify that their internal processes for that fabrication were in accordance with AISC or AICS. I forget which one it is. Yeah, and
So they
and
provide material certs and all that.
yes. Yep. I kind of already went through all this. It's in there if you would like to review it or have any questions, but I'm not going to spend too much time on these. I've already given you the Reader's Digest version. As far as June is concerned, we're going to be finalizing the excavations in the A building. And like I said, we're already getting ready to pour footings. I'm hoping to see the majority of the either the formwork or even the walls themselves up in the A area. We're pushing hard right now, so we're trying to do what we can. I can't say that we will be doing it, but we're optimistic here. B, C, and D footings inspections are ongoing. Sanitary sewer, we already talked about that. Most of all this we've already discussed as well. The only other thing that's of absolute paramount is this slab pour on next Thursday and Friday. That's a big milestone for us at the project.
The what board?
The slab pour.
Oh, slab pour. Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's a big milestone on the project. So,
Do you need us to come by and put our handprints in it with you?
no, it will come up.
Okay, just check.
Yeah.
So just a quick touch up on the 30-day and just activities. While they're doing the sanitary sewers, the sewer authority's been out watching them, out there. Things have been going really, really well. No complaints. And the building inspector's out there, I believe, just about every single day before any concrete pours.
Yes, he is.
He's looking at the bottom of trench and all the rebar, the placement, and what have you.
That's correct.
So, And they're keeping a detailed log in the trailer of where they are and what
Yeah,
they're
and
doing, so. But I know the building inspector's been pleased, the comments that he's had with me.
Yeah, we're developing, and we have developed a nice relationship with all of the inspectors and everybody from the town, and we're continuing to proceed in that manner, so. I think this picture doesn't do justice over the video, so we won't go through that, but this is, I picked a couple of pictures here. So this was the footing, very complex footing. That was a highly intricate pour for the footings around the firewall at the C building, between the BOE and the mechanical area. Just a lot of steps in there and things to go around and stuff. But once again, we completed that entire area today. We talked about sleeves and all that kind of stuff. This is where your main line drainage was coming through when you were looking at that video and saw your MEPs going in. Stuff like that. That's all coordinated. Once again, here's your piping, and you can see the formulation of your rooms and your hallways and your chaseways for where things are going to be going outside of your building.
Chris, can you go back 2 pictures ago to the one with the B and C on the split screen? Yeah. Oh no, the next one. Is this? It looks like a significant amount is underground. Is it just?
No, they're just deep footings. So if you're looking at this picture,
C. I was looking at picture C.
right here is going to be your approximate level of concrete.
I think he's
All
looking
of
at
this
the picture on the right. He's looking at. He's saying it's all below the ground level.
Yeah, those are all spread footings.
Oh, okay.
The wall, see this piece right here?
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Oh, and then is that filled with dirt?
No,
And then you put
that's
the
concrete.
on top
Oh.
of it.
Concrete and
The walls
rebar.
go on top.
And then the walls are set on top of that.
Okay. So that's what you mean when you say pour the slab?
No, when
No.
I say
The slab
I'm
goes.
At grade.
we're finished grade.
Okay.
You're filling between the walls with
Yeah.
concrete.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, that the amount of concrete then that you're pouring into that picture on C. I mean, you must have like 7 to 8 feet of concrete.
That is a firewall that actually has to be self-supported. If one side of the building goes away,
Oh, okay.
that wall has to, there's 2 firewalls in this building.
Oh.
So that happens to be extra heavy. That's not the typical footing and foundation that you see throughout this building.
Yeah, and there's additional rebar, there's additional everything in there.
Cantilever wall,
Oh, okay. Thanks.
at least that's how it was explained to me. Because I asked the same question.
So this here shows you the exterior waterproofing once again. This is what's continuing around. And once you've gotten this step complete, you can come to this step. We backfill it with stone, and you. The interior, we're also putting a layer of polyiso insulation in the along the actual wall itself to give you better R value and all of your requirements.
How long does this concrete need to cure for before you can actually put the steel on?
Differing schools of thought on that. It depends on what a 7-day break comes up at, as well as temperature and other factors. There's a lot of factors that involve.
What are we going by?
What are we going by?
Yeah.
We're going by the fact that when the steel comes in B section, those footings and piers would have already been in place for
Like a month?
month and a half.
Oh, yeah, that's more than enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's that. Do you need to get into financials?
Yeah.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Typical script on financials, we'll move right into the data. We have spent to date about $6.3 million through the end of May for the middle school, and about $434,000 for central admin. We have yet to encumber $8.5 million. That includes contingency, bid savings, FF&E, things that we haven't allocated yet. So about 8.5 on the school, about 900,000 for central admin. Reimbursed to date by the state of Connecticut, or just short of 1.2 million on the school. We have yet to draw down, since our budget overall is small. We don't take big bites out of the reimbursement apple there. We take it only in a few chunks throughout the life of the central admin project. So we haven't received any cash flow on that from the state, but we're about 1.2 million, and we'll be filing drawdowns every 2 months, which is the most frequent cycle that the state allows. Changes are highlighted here for the master budget. We have increased the GMP based on change orders that were approved last month, which has reduced the owner's contingency. As far as owner contingency strength, we've got a current owner's contingency of 2.77 million, down from 2.98 million last month for the middle school, and essentially no change, well, not essentially no change on the contingency for central admin. The breakdown of where the money is gone, we had PO increase number 13 for the small testing allowance for architectural services, and construction change order number 3 and 4 for Newfield, which comprised the reductions in owner contingency last month. On central admin, there was no charge allocated for the contaminated soils item, but we're tracking parallel numbers because we have a single contract with Perkins Eastman. We're just carrying the changes across from project to project. For invoices tonight, we have a total of 7, and yes, we keep getting individual bills from Tri-State. That's the way their system is set up. We've asked them on previous projects, can you just aggregate all of these things into one transaction? The answer, for one reason or another, is no. This is the way their billing system works. So we have 7 invoices from Tri-State. We have an invoice from our commissioning agent, Sustainable Engineering Solutions, our monthly draw for Arcadis for our oversight, and the 2 individual requisitions from Newfield, 2.2 million for the school, 123,000-ish for central admin. Total amount of invoices to be considered tonight is $2,363,938.25. These have been reviewed and evaluated by both Newfield and Arcadis as appropriate, and we recommend your approval.
Anyone have any questions on these? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the $2,363,938.25 total.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Motion carries. Okay. Did you have an update on the video?
Oh, yeah. As I mentioned before, the time-lapse camera is not connected to the internet, so the guy has to come out and download the data. He came out in April. He's coming out again tomorrow, and he should have enough for a short. He's going to put them together, edit together for a short video, and send it out to us.
Awesome. Thank you, Blaze. Oh, the sign. Oh, yeah. Can we talk about the sign real quick? Your estimates you came up with. You still have just the one estimate?
I just have that one estimate,
Okay.
and Sign Pro's getting back to me again. PIP is working through their procurement office, to come up with the final numbers. And Claudio gave me 2 other firms to reach out to. The one's in Kentucky, and then the other one is in Hartford. So
I'd be curious to see what the town used for the fire station. And
that's the one that they used from Sign Pro, and so he gave me the same layout. So that may be the digital on both sides,
Yeah.
where if we, depending on how the principal wants the sign oriented, we may be able to save some money, but the money, the pricing that we had from the previous signs from the fire department was almost 8 years ago, 9 years ago, so.
I don't think anyone can see the backside of the sign as it is today, right?
We have the fire department sign pricing?
Yes,
What was that?
I don't have it right here, but
Okay.
it was, I don't know. I just don't want to, I think it was probably somewhere around in the neighborhood of about $10,000 at the time.
So what's driving the cost up for this sign?
Time and technology's changed, so right now they have like a true LED sign that they can make it look like the fire department, or they could, depending on with the graphics in it, they could make it look like a high definition TV. That's what they're using now. So, and 8 years of technology. So
What's the maintenance on something like that? Like what happens if you have a big storm and, I don't know, gets shocked or pixelated or whatever? You write a check.
yeah. So anyways, using the town standards. That's where I started, and it's just playing phone tag with these guys. So I'm hoping to have, for the next meeting, have a lot more information and.
So that
detail.
cost is just for the
It was the billboard underneath and a sign that would say the middle school, similar to like what the fire station, where they have the fire station headquarters, or the one at the end of Court Street.
Is it, not to be a snob, but is there one that is like done in stone? Because it doesn't one of the, maybe it's the, I think the high school has one that's, the high school sign is on a piece of stone. When I
high
say a
school's
to-
the
I'd say
little
a
sticky
tombstone.
one though. That's not digital.
No, well, that's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to differentiate. That's what I'm trying to differentiate. There's the sign placard, like a tombstone style, like Cromwell Middle School, and then there's the thing that is an information board. And aren't there two
So-
things?
so-
Like I know ECS definitely has two.
So what they're looking for is like what the Court Street Firehouse
Right.
has.
An integrated.
Integrated.
I would say a sign
It's like
that
a s-
announces this is the middle school, and then has some information board.
It's like a digital screen with like hard Cromwell Middle School thing around it to like frame it. On top of probably like some kind of brick footing player, like something to
Yeah.
elevate it, whatever it is.
So I just started with,
Okay.
the standard that the town has with the fire departments, and I
Yeah.
believe they said that they had the same type of sign somewhere in the middle of town. That's what.
And that cost is it's labor and
Right.
material,
I thought something in the quote said something about etching. That's why I was asking. Like, was there?
etching.
What was it?
Etching would be
In the wood.
the sign that said, say, Cromwell Middle School.
Yeah.
That would be the etching, where it's just like, like they take a router. and
Yep.
go
Like the
in.
carving.
But it's
carving.
it's etched on a piece of wood, not stone.
Correct.
That's my
Yeah.
clarifying question: is would this be like a
So
stone
wood-
type of material, or
I haven't
wood?
seen it.
That's all.
I don't think. I think it's wood.
Yeah, okay.
So-
Have we approached Stuart Popper? I don't know what the planning and zoning
He's the one that gave me.
process is.
He's the one that gave me the template. So, and the town is exempt as long as we stay
Okay.
within that 32 square feet combination of the message board
Okay.
and then the sign.
Okay.
So the fire headquarters and the fire department that's just down the street.
Mhm.
That's basically the format that I started with.
Okay.
I had to have something to start, so.
Yeah.
And Sign Pro had done the other work for the town, so that's where I said, okay, well, we'll start there.
Yep.
And tonight's meeting, he's already texted me back that I need more information on this, so we'll look at the options. We'll get, with all these guys, we'll get an a la carte, so we can make a better decision.
Okay, and the quote that comes back is going to be the cost of the sign as well as the installation?
That's the goal at this point, yes.
And then I'm assuming there's software the Board of Ed will have to purchase to maintain these signs?
The software, the sign package, if we do have the digital, they said that, yes, you definitely need the controllers because we're not gonna go out there and type it. So when we run the power, we would run a data line or it would be Bluetooth. They got them Bluetooth, cellular, or run a hot
If you do
data.
excuse me, if you do cellular, I would need a cellular plan or something on
They,
there.
they supply it on
That's
Sign Pro,
cost.
their first, I think it was the first 5 years, they have a cell.
Or you can just have a little line connected to it and you just do it from, no need
Right.
cellular.
Yeah.
Right, but there's,
But-
I'm sure
But there's
there's
still
still
technology.
there's still a software platform.
Yeah, but if you're hardwired to it.
Right, but there's still a program you probably
Right.
have to purchase
Yes, it would
set
be-
it up.
to
Yeah.
set, like.
Oh, yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
saying if
just-
there's a cellular plan to get cellular out there. they're
No,
gonna
we have the data. Like, I'm sure we have the data to do it, but I'm saying, like, there's still, like, you have to buy their computer program or platform,
Oh, yeah.
or whatever they have. So
Let's just make
we
sure
have to
that's in the
factor- We
FFE.
have to factor that in to make the Board of Ed aware that, like, that's, they're gonna have to
Pay for that.
subscribe to whatever
Right, yeah, we're gonna get the
Comes-
option, so, you know,
comes with that. So make sure we're
Yeah.
just factoring that into
Yeah.
this
Yep.
thing, whole thing, this.
Yeah.
32 square feet combined, both etching and that's about as big as one of these tabletops.
That's how big the screen's gonna be?
4 by 8, 32.
That's
the
huge.
biggest it can be.
The digital billboard that they have now is 2 feet by 6 feet.
Oh, wow.
And then it's 6 feet, and it's about 30.
That's pretty big.
That's huge.
That feels really big.
That feels really big.
I don't know, but it's like hard when you're driving. It probably doesn't
feel
look
like
that
half
big.
the
That's the
size.
maximum size you can have
Yeah.
to stay within the exemption. It doesn't have to be that large.
Oh, okay.
But within the town's rules, if you're
Yeah.
within that 32 square foot aggregate for both the digital and fixed sign, you don't have to go through zoning hoops.
Have we measured the existing that's there?
Yeah, around something.
Yeah, I've got sketches of that.
Sketch you gave me, I could make copies and send it to you, with the fire department now.
No, I'm just curious what the existing middle school, like, what the existing size is.
Yeah, it doesn't look that big.
No, it doesn't,
It's definitely
but-
not
but-
this big. It's probably like half of
5
it.
feet by,
I think it's like 4 by 4, something like 3 by 4, like that big maybe.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It looks that big, but that's driving by, so it's
So-
probably bigger than it actually looks.
But not this big, not this table big, that's for sure.
So is
I've
there
walked
anything
by
we
it.
need to approve at this point, or we're still data gathering?
We're data gathering.
Okay.
Can I bring up one thing?
Yes,
Sorry.
please.
So for starting the next meeting until the end of August, our meetings are scheduled for 7:00. They will have to be via Zoom unless we have the meetings earlier because the custodians.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So we can have this room, but as long as we're out by 4:00 in the afternoon, because they leave at 4:30.
Oh, like have it in the afternoon, the
We
meet,
have them earlier in the afternoon if you want.
and be out by 4:30.
But we would have to actually be out.
What
by
did we do
4.
last year?
We work.
I know.
Work.
Yeah, last year we had to be out by like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, they switched, so the custodians
Oh.
now, with this contract, they can
Okay,
have their
so
summer
that's why.
hours, so they're
That's a
out at
different
4:30.
thing than last
Yeah.
summer.
Oh, there's a new contract. Okay.
So, I'm okay. I'm okay with Zoom meetings.
Be out by 4:30? I wouldn't be able to get here by 4:30.
I know Joe will be happy about Zoom meetings. Yeah, I'm okay with Zoom meetings.
I'm fine with Zoom.
In 2 weeks, the 24th.
Zoom it is.
Zoom it is.
Zoom. We're gonna zoom it away.
We could do that. Chris will have a slab down soon. We can.
Oh yeah.
Bring your own chair.
There's no parking now.
No, we used a pavilion at Wacker.
Couldn't resist.
We're all gonna crowd around in your trailer, Chris. We're just gonna get in there. All right. Very good. Anyone have anything else?